I got you moving. I got you moving. I got you moving. I got you moving. This ain't. I got you moving. I got you. I got you moving. I got you moving. I got you moving. I got you.
Welcome everyone, day 3 of this Christmas break training vlog. Warmed up, got some prep work in, made some changes on today's lift today just because I don't have a couple pieces of equipment I normally would have for today, so we're gonna make some changes. You guys see them firsthand. We got snatch complex today, so very similar to Mondays with the hang clean, except for with the snatch we're going from hip, hang, and then below the knees. So each one of these is kind of building on one another of where we want to end up in the position. So for the snatch, for that finished position, I want to be in that bent hip, knee, ankle complex, chest vertical, bar sitting right in my hips, so that way when I make contact, I'm going vertical with it and not having it like swing away. And then we're going to move down to a hang position, get back to that hip position, and then below the knee, get back to that hip position. So really just trying to always remember the previous position on how we want to stay tight, we want to keep the bar closed, and how we want to finish each one of these. So it's 1 rep each. We're at 115 today for our working weight. We're going to superset this with a plyo, and then a little bit of like a weighted core rotation, but I'm really using it more so for like a thoracic mobility and playing around with this concept of like more movement through the spine in terms of like a mobility piece instead of actual like any kind of like strengthening or anything like that, just trying to get more movement through. So we'll give you a couple sets of this, a couple sets of that, kind of give you any of little issues I'm having or feedback as we're going through today's lift. Complexes are becoming one of my favorite ways of just ingraining patterns for the snatch and the clean. Really focusing on where am I, where's the bar in space, is it close to my center of mass, is it getting away from me, and being at these like low end sub-max weights, really being able to kind of like feel the movement in terms of like if I'm pushing out on the snatch, am I having to self-correct, like kind of what am I doing during the movement. So kind of going from the hip to the knee to below the knee, I definitely can tell once we kind of get below the knee, the longer pull, the having to stay more patient is something I definitely struggle with. So this has been a great exercise to kind of just make sure I'm understanding what I'm doing during the snatch. Now for the seated box jumps, I was gonna set up the force plates just to get feedback, because normally when I've been doing these last 2 weeks, I've had just a jump mat, just to get instantaneous feedback of how high the jump was, and then just trying to beat it every single time, and then also recording my best week to week to just try to see like, is it getting better, is it getting worse, what does that trend line look like. But for today, we don't have that, so we're just gonna go off of intent and just trying to think about getting my head higher and higher to the first garage track. Like, can I get that closer to eye of sight? And then finally, these glute ham rotations, I like it for just trying to think of like fixing my pelvis, fixing that lumbar spine, and then just using my T-spine to create rotation through. They're harder than they look, but I also don't know if how I'm doing them is getting the benefit I'm looking for. Like, would I just be better with like quadruped T-spine rotation, a banded T-spine rotation, Or is there something to this where it's a little bit more dynamic in nature? You kind of have to use a little more effort, a little bit more momentum to get that plate up too. I don't know. They don't hurt my back, so I'm taking that as a win. We'll give you one more view of kind of everything for these exercises. Then we'll get into my favorite part of the day, which has been playing around with these Zercher squats. So hopefully these next couple sets get clean. I can stay in good positions, especially on these snatches. So I didn't realize when I looked at week 3 of this training program, we've got 7 sets of this snatch complex, and it's a lot. I think last week we were doing 4s. I don't know what in me made me bump up the volume that much. It's good for like technical work, like just trying to get more repetitions, trying to be perfect on each one, but 7's a lot. But this is going to be the last one for the complex. Starting to feel the bar on the hangs get away from me a little bit, so I need to focus more on keeping those lats engaged, pulling that bar into me, and being more patient as I'm getting through that finer pull and having the bar in my hips. All right, we're gonna clean this up, we'll set up, we'll get you guys going on the Zercher squats when we get back. So when I'm setting up for Zercher squats, I set my J hooks up to the same height I bench out of. Seems to be a good spot to make sure that I can get in the bar, stand up. I got plenty of room to clear the J hooks. I'm using a 15-degree wedge plus some weightlifting shoes. I would really love it to be a 20-degree or even like a 25-degree wedge, trying to get more into like what they call a cyclist squat, where I have a perfectly vertical torso, a lot of knee forward and a lot of knee flexion coming forward, really just trying to focus only on the quads for these. So I found the 15-degree wedge and the weightlifting shoes kind of gets me into that perfect position that we need to. We got 4 sets of 10. Week 1 was 3 sets of 10 at 60%. Week 2 was 3 by 10 at 65%. This week intensity is going to stay the same at that 65%, but now adding a whole nother set of 10. So now we're going 4 sets of 10 for these squats. Really, goal is no tempo, nothing super specific on the way down, just controlling the movement on the way up, making sure we're keeping a nice vertical torso, and thinking as I'm starting to descend to shove my knees forward over my toes. I don't care what anyone says. Zercher squats are mostly awful for the bar position. I have tried putting fat grips on the bar, trying to make the diameter a little bit bigger. I've tried like a hip thrust pad, and every time I add like more girth to the bar, the more I feel like I can't keep it close to my body, and then it just makes me want to kind of take my torso and lean it more forward. So I always just stick with an empty bar in the elbows. And every time it hurts, like there's no way around it. It's kind of interesting, like one of those things of like, if you want to say like, oh, like do hard things, like Zercher squats are hard. They're a hard squat. The bar position does not feel great. But in terms of what I'm looking for just like quads, the burn on these sets of 10, it's there. And I'm not even really at like a very heavy weight for these Zerchers whatsoever to be bitching about the bar in my hands, because I know there's some people who are doing 315 plus Zerchers, which to me is crazy. But hopefully we'll get there one day. I'm not sure if I'll ever keep these in as like a strength movement, but just for what I'm looking for right now to try to get some more growth, more volume on my quads, I'm really enjoying these Zercher squats right here. So if you haven't tried Zercher squats, give them a shot. I saw them, first time I ever saw them was in my second internship ever at Eastern Michigan. The basketball strength coach there was doing with the guys, and I always thought about using them if I ever trained like basketball, maybe really tall volleyball players, someone who's really tall where putting a bar on their back in the front rack position just doesn't work with their anthropometrics. So the Zerchers, I feel like you can definitely keep it closer and keep a better position throughout each one of them. Fourth set done, Zercher squats. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite newer variations of squatting that I wish I've added into my training earlier on. But what I'm trying to do right now, it just fits. All right, we're gonna strip this down. We got one more exercise today. Some RDLs for our hamstrings. We'll give you a couple clips of that and wrap up today's video. Finishing off today's workout, we've got some RDLs. Oh, let's see. We got 3 sets of 10, 165 on the bar. Again, no tempo, nothing crazy. Just nice, smooth and controlled on these RDLs. Making sure that we're pushing our hips back, not letting our knees rebend. Decided to finish up today with some bike sprints on the assault bike, aka the Devil's Tricycle. Just a simple 10-20 Tabata, 10 as hard as you can, 20 seconds off. It's probably my favorite pre-programmed protocol on the assault bike. Just click, it counts you down, it's good to go. And I usually will keep an eye on either distance or calories, jot it down just to try to see, all right, we got 1.2 miles last time. Can we try to get like 1.3, 1.4? It's just a good way to track progress, because with the assault bike, it's not like some other forms of conditioning where like it becomes easier, right? Like the better you get at the assault bike, the higher outputs you can go, the more wind resistance you get from the fan. So it's kind of this endless amount of like just increasing difficulty as you get better with it. So just having those like 2 metrics that I'll look at, and I'll just pick one for the training phase. This is what we're going to track as we're going through. But that's the end of today's training session. Day after Christmas, felt good to get out here, get a sweat in after eating and just lounging yesterday. Tomorrow will be our last training phase for this Christmas vlog. Hopefully you guys are enjoying seeing some of the insights of this hypertrophy phase I'm in right now. We've got 1 more week of this current phase after this before we'll start off a new 4-week block. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it another 4 weeks of hypertrophy, changing some methods a little bit, just trying to create a new adaptation for the following weeks, or if we're going to kind of stick with this and just kind of make some minor changes. But appreciate you guys watching the video. You guys got any questions on the program, as always, leave them down below in the comments.